cheating almost never starts the way people think. It doesn't begin with a touch or behind a closed bedroom door. It sneaks in quietly, in the mind, with small changes that are easy to brush off. The truth is, most people don't miss the signs because they're clueless. They miss them because the mind protects what the heart wants to keep. Look, this isn't about pointing fingers. It's about understanding how cheating really works, and why the earliest hints are so easy to overlook. Ask any psychologist, and you'll hear the same thing: cheating isn't a sudden move. It's a slow shift. People don't just wake up and decide to betray someone they care about. It starts with emotional distance, that slow drift where safety gets replaced by emptiness. The mind checks out way before the body ever does. That's why the first red flags show up in behavior, not in bed. One of the first real signs? Emotional withdrawal. Not fights or angry outbursts, just quiet. Conversations shrink. Sharing starts to feel forced. The warmth that used to be there just disappears. Psychologists call this emotional disengagement. When someone starts pulling back, they're not always doing it to hurt you. They're just making the break easier for themselves, even if they don't realize it. Our brains love new things. Novelty hits the dopamine button. It feels good, exciting. In long-term relationships, that rush fades, but if you're lucky, you get depth instead. Cheating happens when someone starts confusing excitement with happiness. Instead of working through the boredom, the brain goes hunting for quick fixes, attention, validation, curiosity, whatever feels different. It's not always about the relationship falling apart. Sometimes, it's about not knowing how to handle those feelings. Another thing people miss? Sudden changes in privacy. The phone that used to sit out is now face down. Passwords show up. Suddenly, there's defensiveness where there used to be nothing to hide. Guilt makes people hyper-aware. They get more protective, not because you've changed, but because something inside them has. Here's the thing: normal privacy feels relaxed. Suspicious privacy feels tense. Cheating brings mental stress. You can't live two lives without tripping up. Stories change a little. Simple things get over-explained. Sometimes, there's no explanation at all. Psychologists call this cognitive load. When the mind is under pressure, small mistakes slip through, even if the person isn't trying to mess up. Most people look past these signs because they trust what they're told instead of what they see. One of the most ignored signs? A sudden shift in self-image. New confidence, new look, new energy, and no obvious reason. External validation lights up the brain. Suddenly, someone feels seen again, but it's coming from outside, not from personal growth. When that happens, their sense of self starts changing, too. Cheating doesn't always feel wrong at first. The brain starts making excuses: I deserve this, nothing's really happening, you're just imagining things. This is moral rationalization. To feel okay, the mind twists things until the behavior seems harmless. That's why confronting someone often ends in denial, not honesty. So, why do people ignore all of this? Because being attached to someone clouds your judgment. The brain dodges anything that threatens emotional safety. Hope feels safer than the truth. Psychologists call it avoidance coping. It's not about being weak. It's just being human. Most people hear cheating something physical. But psychology sees it differently. A lot of the time, emotional cheating shows up first. Sometimes it never even gets physical. It starts quietly, sharing your thoughts, frustrations, or hopes with someone who isn't your partner. The risk isn't just attraction, it's building intimacy with no accountability. Once someone starts turning to another person for comfort or connection, things at home start to slip. The relationship weakens, but it's almost invisible. Emotional cheating feels harmless because there's nothing to see. No late-night texts get caught, no lipstick on a collar. Just conversations, honest, open, and private. But the brain doesn't really care if it's just talking. Emotional closeness lights up the same parts of your brain as romantic love, dopamine, oxytocin, all those sticky attachment chemicals. For your brain, closeness is closeness. When someone gets called out, they don't always admit what's happening. More often, they deflect, "You're being paranoid. You're imagining things. Don't be so sensitive." It's not always some grand plan to manipulate. Most of the time, it's self-preservation. Admitting you've crossed a line is scary, it threatens how you see yourself. So the mind shifts blame, questions your reality, anything to keep feeling like the good guy. That's why these conversations leave you feeling more confused than before. Guilt doesn't always turn into honesty. Sometimes, it becomes distance. The guilty partner gets cold, avoids looking at you, snaps for no reason. Psychology calls this avoidance. Being close reminds them of what they've done, so they pull away. Less contact, less guilt, at least for a while. And then, this odd thing happens. When someone suspects cheating, the cheating partner often starts making promises. Suddenly they're more affectionate, offering reassurance, declaring their love. But if you watch closely, their actions don't match their words. Promises are easy. Changing behavior is hard. The brain uses words to calm things down, but real change takes more than that. So, psychologists say, don't watch for grand gestures. Watch for consistency. People like to brush off their gut feeling as just being emotional. But psychology defines intuition as pattern recognition. Your brain picks up on tiny things, changes in routine, a shift in tone, new emotional gaps, before you can explain what's off. That gut feeling? It's not just paranoia. It's your brain doing its job. One of the hardest questions isn't, why do people cheat? It's, why do people stay even when they know? The answer is complicated: fear of loss, emotional investment, clinging to identity, or just hoping things will get better. The brain craves the comfort of what's familiar, even if it hurts. Leaving isn't just a logical decision. It takes real courage. Attachment styles play out here, too. People with avoidant tendencies struggle with closeness and pull away when things get too intimate. Anxious types chase reassurance and fear being left. Emotional cheating pops up where people can't handle their own feelings, not because they don't love their partner, but because they haven't learned how to manage themselves. A lot of cheating ties back to identity struggles, midlife crises, insecurity, feeling invisible. Sometimes, cheating is less about finding someone new and more about feeling alive or desirable again. That's not an excuse. But it is an explanation. Words can lie. Behavior, not so much. Patterns matter more than promises. One slip-up isn't the end of the world, but repeated behavior says everything. Understanding the psychology behind cheating isn't paranoia, it's clarity. Being aware doesn't end relationships. Ignoring problems does. Staying or leaving is up to you. But the more you know, the better you can protect your own peace of mind. Cheating never shows up loudly. It changes the mood, the energy, the little rituals of daily life. Your mind usually catches on before your heart wants to accept it. Trust what you see. Guard your peace. Built-In Silence.